The stars died first. One by one, the familiar constellations vanished, swallowed by something darker than night itself. At first, astronomers thought it was an error, a malfunction in the telescopes, maybe atmospheric interference. But then, the sky over New York turned crimson. In Tokyo, skyscrapers shimmered under a haze of alien light. And in Cairo, desert winds carried the falling remains of satellites, burning like meteors across the dunes. The world looked up, and it trembled. They came without warning, an armada so vast it seemed to stretch across the horizon. Hundreds, maybe thousands of warships, black and glimmering with alien steel, each one larger than anything humanity had ever conceived. They didn't orbit, they encircled. Like predators, they closed around Earth, cutting off every path of escape. No transmission, no signal, no attempt at introduction, just silence. And that silence was worse than thunder. The Pentagon lit up with alarms. Submarines surfaced across every ocean, nuclear silos unsealed, and jets screamed into the skies. Yet as commanders watched the alien fleet fill their screens, one truth settled into every soldier's chest like ice. Earth was outmatched. In London, crowds filled the streets, staring upward at a sky that no longer belonged to them. Parents pulled children close, whispering lies about safety. Priests opened cathedrals to the lost. Even in the most powerful cities on Earth, there was nothing to do but watch. Watch as the galaxy's judgment arrived above their heads. At the United Nations headquarters, chaos reigned. Diplomats shouted over one another, calling for surrender, negotiation, resistance, anything. But their voices drowned beneath the weight of reality. No allies would come. Humanity had no place in galactic politics, no treaties, no friends beyond the stars. Earth had been forgotten, and now it had been found. When the global broadcast flickered alive, billions of eyes turned to it. A single face appeared, not of an alien, but of the Secretary General of the United Nations. His suit was torn, his forehead beaded with sweat, but his voice, trembling though it was, carried across every channel, every screen, every speaker on the planet. This is not a drill. What you see in the skies is real. We do not know who they are or what they want, but hear me now. No one is coming to save us. Humanity stands alone. His words struck harder than the sight of the fleet itself. Mothers wept. Soldiers clenched their fists. Some fell to their knees in despair. Others raised their heads in defiance, and then, for the first time, the alien fleet moved. The largest of the ships, a leviathan of metal, so vast it could eclipse Manhattan, shifted in orbit. Its hull shimmered with rivers of blue light, patterns that writhed like living circuitry. A low hum rolled across the atmosphere, rattling windows, setting off car alarms, making children cry. For 3 long minutes, the ship hung there, pulsing, like a heart of steel, and then it stopped. The hum faded. The patterns went dark. The aliens said nothing. They did nothing. They simply watched. That silence spread across the world like poison. It was a waiting game, a hunter's patience. Every second stretched into eternity. Humanity's militaries scrambled in desperation, launching fighters, readying missiles, but deep down, everyone knew. Every jet, every warhead, every battleship humanity had built was a pebble against a tidal wave. In the bunkers beneath Moscow, a general whispered to his staff, "If they wanted us dead, we'd already be ash." That was the most terrifying truth. The fleet had the power to obliterate Earth in seconds, yet it hadn't, which meant they were waiting, watching, judging. In Chicago, a boy pressed his face against a window, staring up at the burning sky. "Mom," he whispered, "are they gods?" His mother pulled him close, tears running down her face. She wanted to say no. She wanted to tell him they were just invaders, just enemies to be fought. But as the sky pulsed with alien light, she had no words. The world waited, caught between breath and silence, between fear and defiance. And then, a single word appeared across every hacked broadcast, every glowing screen, every radio channel. It was not in English, nor any human tongue. But the meaning was clear. Kneel. The world froze. Above, the alien fleet shimmered, their shadows devouring the stars, and for the first time in history, Earth realized the truth. No allies, no rescue, no chance. Of mercy. The sky was on fire, and Earth stood alone. The word hung in the air like a curse. Kneel. It echoed across every screen, every phone, every radio tower. The translation wasn't human, but somehow everyone understood. And it wasn't a request, it was a sentence. Above the planet, the alien flagship stirred. The Leviathan's hull rippled with waves of light, shifting from cold blue to the blood-red glow of burning embers. It turned slowly, deliberately, so its shadow swept across half a continent. To those who watched from below, it was less a ship, and more a god, blotting out the heavens. And then the voice came, deep, resonant, not sound, but vibration. It rattled bones, cracked windows, and made the oceans themselves tremble. Children of Earth, you stand upon soil unworthy of protection. You are dust forgotten by the stars, yet we offer you this: kneel and serve or be broken. Cities fell into silence. In the streets of Rio de Janeiro, millions stared up at the towering hologram that bloomed above them, an alien form that filled the sky like a nightmare. The conqueror was insectoid, armored in obsidian plates, its mandibles clicking as it spoke. Its eyes burned like suns. It repeated the word, each syllable sharp enough to cut the soul. Kneel. Some obeyed immediately. In Paris, thousands fell to their knees, weeping, begging. In the slums of Manila, priests threw themselves to the ground, crying out to gods of mercy. Even in the White House bunker, advisors whispered the word under their breath as if saying, it would save them. But not everyone bowed. In Warsaw, a soldier spat at the sky. In Mumbai, crowds lifted fists and shouted curses. And in the underground resistance bunkers of Nevada, generals shook their heads grimly. Humanity had heard ultimatums before, empires, kings, tyrants, always demanding submission, always demanding silence. The Secretary General returned to the broadcast, his face pale, his voice ragged. People of Earth, you have heard their words. But know this: to kneel is not survival. It is slavery. We cannot, we will not, bow to chains. His words lit fires across the globe, small ones at first, quiet sparks of defiance. A soldier reloaded her rifle with steady hands. A mother in Lagos held her child close and whispered, "We do not kneel." A pilot in the cockpit of a fighter jet stared at the sky and whispered a vow, "Not while I breathe." The alien hologram leaned closer, its eyes filling the skyline. Yeti. Misunderstand. We do not ask, we command, kneel or burn. And then, to prove its promise, the fleet struck. One ship, small compared to the behemoth flagship, yet larger than any human city, descended over Sydney. Its cannons opened with blinding light, plasma that screamed across the sky. In seconds, an entire district was ash. The harbor boiled. Skyscrapers collapsed like toys. The message was clear. Panic erupted worldwide. Some leaders shouted for surrender. Others demanded retaliation, however futile. In Moscow's command bunker, General Volkov slammed his fist on the table. They want fear. Give them fire instead. In Washington, the president whispered to her generals, her voice barely audible, "Every weapon we have, prepare it. Humanity's decision fractured. Survival on one side, defiance on the other. Families begged their leaders to bend, to buy time. Soldiers begged for permission to fight, to strike first. And in every heart, the same fear spread. Was this Earth's last dawn? But beneath the fear, something else was growing. Anger. The aliens had called Earth forgotten, weak, dust. But humanity's history was anything but weak. It was war. It was revolution. It was the endless fire of survival in the face of annihilation. From the trenches of Verdun to the ruins of Stalingrad, from Hiroshima's ashes to the deserts of Iraq, humanity had been forged in blood. And now, they would remind the stars. In the shadows of underground bunkers, a council of generals, scientists, and engineers met in secret. Their eyes were tired, their hands shaking, but their voices were iron. "They believe we are prey," one said. "Then let us show them what happens when prey fights back." Above, the alien hologram tilted its head, mandibles clicking, eyes glowing like a dying sun. "You have 3 days. Choose. Kneel or burn." The image dissolved into smoke. The fleet returned to silence. Across the planet, hearts raced. Some would bow, some would fight. But all would remember the ultimatum. And as dawn crept across the ruined horizon, one truth became clear. The aliens thought humanity would kneel. They had no idea what humanity truly was. The 3 days began with silence. The alien fleet did not fire again. They hung in orbit like vultures, their shadows turning daylight into twilight. Humanity waited, every second stretched tight, hearts pounding with dread. Yet in that silence, something began to stir. Not surrender, but memory. The aliens had called Earth forgotten, weak, dust. But humanity's story was carved in fire and iron, and it was not one of weakness. In the ruins of Sydney, smoke still rising from its shattered harbor, survivors dug through rubble with bare hands. A firefighter pulled a child from the ashes, blood streaking his face, eyes blazing. "They think we'll bow," he growled to no one in particular. "Let them choke on our ashes first." In hidden bunkers, strategists pored over alien transmissions. Historians sat beside them, recalling not alien wars but human ones. They spoke of Hannibal at Cannae, of the Mongol horde, of empires that rose and fell by the sword. They spoke of humanity's stubborn refusal to die even when broken. "Do they think us soft?" one general whispered, staring at the holographic map of alien fleets surrounding Earth. "Do they not see? We are the children of war." On the streets, rumors spread. People remembered that no alien emissary had ever set foot on Earth before. Travelers from other worlds avoided it. Galactic. Explorers had skirted its borders. Why? Now the survivors asked the same question in hushed voices. Had the galaxy left Earth alone? Not because it was weak, but because it was dangerous. The aliens, of course, thought otherwise. Above the ruins of Berlin, smaller craft descended. Scouts. Their armor gleaming, their mandibles clicking in amusement. They walked casually through shattered neighborhoods, scanning debris, laughing in their alien tongue at humanity's feeble weapons. One scout lifted a tank in its clawed arms as though it were a child's toy, crushing it with contempt. From a rooftop, resistance fighters watched. Their weapons were pitiful: assault rifles, explosives, hand-built drones, but their eyes were steel. "They think us broken," one muttered. The other raised his rifle. "Then let's remind them what broken looks like." The ambush was swift. A swarm of Molotovs, gunfire, and jury-rigged explosives detonated beneath the scouts. One alien fell, pierced through its eye. Another roared in shock as fire consumed its armor. The rest, startled, unleashed plasma that melted the street. But by then, the humans had vanished into the tunnels. The galaxy had forgotten something crucial. Humanity did not need equal power to strike. They only needed the will, and will, humanity, had in abundance. In bunkers beneath Nevada, engineers worked without sleep, dissecting fragments of alien wreckage scavenged from the fallen scout. Sparks flew as they pried open circuits that hummed with impossible energy. "This technology is centuries beyond us," one whispered. Another grinned, exhaustion in her eyes. "Then we'd better catch up in days." Hackers across the world tapped into alien signals, their fingers flying, eyes bloodshot. One teenager in Sao Paulo managed what military supercomputers could not. He cracked into the fringes of the alien communication web. For 3 heartbeats, Earth listened to the enemy's private words. "Pathetic world, their weapons are toys. A forgotten rock, its only use is labor. They are nothing. Dust beneath our claws." The hackers smiled grimly. The aliens thought Earth broken. That arrogance was a weapon, and humanity would wield it. In Tokyo, a girl spray-painted words on the shattered wall of a skyscraper, words that soon spread across cities like wildfire. Forgotten, but not beaten. Crowds gathered around it, voices chanting in defiance. For the first time since the sky burned, fear gave way to fire. Humanity was angry, and anger was dangerous. The second day ended with the aliens still silent. Their fleet loomed above, watching, confident in victory before the war even began. But on Earth, resistance spread like infection. Networks of fighters formed in shadows. Weapons were forged from scraps, and plans were whispered in the dark. By the third day, one truth had become clear. The galaxy had underestimated Earth, and when the ultimatum expired, when the alien fleet expected a planet on its knees, they would instead find a world with its teeth bared. The silence broke, with a vow whispered across radios, spray-painted on ruins, shouted in the streets of burning cities. "We will not kneel." The aliens had forgotten why Earth was left alone. They were about to remember. The ultimatum expired at dawn. The alien fleet expected silence, surrender, perhaps the trembling cries of a broken species. Instead, the skies above Earth erupted in fire. It began in the deserts of Nevada, from a hangar buried so deep the aliens had never noticed it. A roar split the morning air as a formation of experimental stealth drones streaked upward, black silhouettes cutting across the pink horizon. They were humanity's secret. Drones built for wars never fought, designed for enemies that never came. Now, they had a purpose. As they rose higher, more followed. From hidden bases in Siberia, from abandoned hangars in Africa, from submarine silos deep beneath the Atlantic, swarms of machines, crude compared to alien craft, but fast, agile, and armed with humanity's last gamble. Their target was chosen carefully: a single alien destroyer. Small compared to the Leviathan flagship, yet still vast. Its shadow stretched miles across the ocean as it hovered, scanning. To the aliens, it was routine patrol. To humanity, it was prey. The drones climbed silently, cloaked by experimental tech and the chaos of the atmosphere. For a heartbeat, Earth's soldiers held their breath, eyes locked on screens, fingers trembling over controls. And then, attack. The first drone dove, releasing a payload of experimental missiles, half alien scavenged tech, half human ingenuity. They tore through the clouds in a storm of silver fire. The destroyer's shields flared bright blue, rippling like water struck by stone. But the drones did not stop. They swarmed, wave after wave, hurling explosives, plasma, and even kamikaze strikes into the shield. The alien destroyer roared in answer. Its cannons opened, scything the sky with beams of searing plasma. Entire squadrons of drones vanished in fire. The heavens became a battlefield, burning debris raining down like meteors. Still, the humans pressed on. A drone dove too close, its pilot whispering, "For my family." The feed cut to static as it slammed into the shield. The explosion cracked the barrier. Another followed, and another. Each sacrifice opened a fracture in the alien armor. In command bunkers, generals leaned forward, breath caught in their throats. Could it work? Could the impossible happen? Then, silence. The destroyer's shields flickered. For a moment, its colossal hull lay bare. That moment was enough. The last of the drones, a single battered craft, its systems failing, its pilots, voice calm despite the static, charged headlong into the opening. Its warhead detonated with the force of a small sun. The destroyer convulsed. Its hull cracked. Flames tore across its length. For the first time, an alien warship screamed. And then, before the eyes of billions watching live feeds across the planet, the destroyer exploded. The sky split in fire. Shards of alien steel rained into the ocean, sending waves crashing across shores. The sound rolled like thunder, shaking cities, rattling bones, shaking hearts awake. For a heartbeat, silence followed. Disbelief, and then cheers. Across the world, survivors screamed with joy. In the ruins of Berlin, resistance fighters raised, rifles to the sky. In Lagos, children danced in the streets. In New York, sirens wailed in triumph, not despair. The impossible had happened. Earth had drawn blood. But victory came at a cost. Of the hundreds of drones launched, almost none returned. The pilots who gave their lives did so knowing they would not see the dawn. Their names were whispered like prayers across command bunkers, and above, the alien fleet stirred. The destroyer's death was no wound, it was an insult, a humiliation. The Leviathan flagship pulsed with crimson light, brighter than ever before. The alien voice returned, its fury shaking the very air. "Children of Earth, you have chosen defiance, you have drawn blood, you have declared war." The fleet began to shift. Dozens of ships broke formation, their cannons glowing with apocalyptic light. The sky darkened again, but this time, not with silence, with wrath. Humanity had won its first victory, and in doing so, it had provoked a storm. The world braced as the aliens prepared to unleash their vengeance. Cities trembled. Generals clenched fists. Children held their parents tighter. The first strike was humanity's roar into the void. Now the void was roaring back. The destroyer's wreckage was still falling when the retaliation began. At first, there was only silence, a tense, suffocating quiet, as though the alien fleet was deciding how much punishment humanity deserved. Then the Leviathan flagship ignited, its hull glowing like a furnace. Across the skies, alien cannons roared to life. The bombardment began. From orbit, beams of searing plasma lanced downward, carving through the atmosphere like scythes. Skyscrapers melted into rivers of glass. Oceans boiled where the strikes landed. Entire neighborhoods vanished in seconds, swallowed by light so bright it erased shadows. In Paris, the Eiffel Tower collapsed in molten ruin, its steel curling like paper. In Mexico City, entire districts erupted in firestorms, the ground splitting open as alien energy tore through the Earth's crust. Over Cairo, a plasma beam struck the Nile, sending steam and fire across the desert like a tsunami of heat. The aliens did not strike with precision. They struck with fury. Humanity's first victory had enraged them, and now they would punish the entire species for daring to resist. Yet even as the fire fell, humanity did not cower. In the ruins of Berlin, resistance fighters pulled civilians into tunnels as plasma turned streets to ash. One man, his arm broken, dragged a stranger through the flames and refused to let go. In New York, firefighters drove engines straight into burning wreckage, their sirens wailing defiantly against the silence of annihilation. Everywhere, people fought not to win, but to save one more life. And still, some fought back. In the rubble of Moscow, a squad of soldiers ambushed an alien patrol, hurling explosives from the shadows. Plasma fire consumed them seconds later, but their ambush destroyed 2 scouts. The survivors in the tunnels below whispered their names like saints. On the Pacific, submarines surfaced beneath alien carriers, launching nuclear torpedoes in desperate fury. They knew the weapons would never pierce alien shields, but they launched anyway, forcing the invaders to expend their energy to defend themselves. For every second the shields flared, another evacuation ship escaped. In Lagos, a mother placed her daughter aboard a refugee bus, then turned back to join the militia forming in the streets. Her last words: "Run. Live. Fight for me." The world was burning, yet its people refused to vanish quietly. From orbit, the aliens watched with disdain. To them, this was meaningless resistance, flailing against the inevitable. But something unsettled them. These humans did not fight like others they had conquered. They did not surrender when outmatched. They did not hide when slaughtered. They fought in every corner, every shadow, every burning street. Even broken, humanity resisted. And in that resistance, something began to shift. In the underground labs of London, engineers worked by candlelight, power grids shattered. On tables before them lay the glowing shards of alien technology scavenged from the wreck of the destroyer. The bombardment shook the earth above, dust falling from the ceiling, but still they worked, soldering wires, splicing cores, turning wreckage into weapons. "We can't match their strength," one scientist whispered, hands trembling. Another met his gaze, her eyes hard. "Then we'll use their strength against them." Around the globe, others made the same vow. Hackers twisted alien transmissions into static, buying minutes of confusion. Farmers in the Midwest buried explosives in their fields, waiting for alien patrols to step into traps. Entire villages in Asia melted into forests, vanishing from scanners, hiding their strength until the moment to strike. The bombardment raged for hours, leaving cities scarred, oceans steaming, continents wounded. Millions were gone. Billions more clung to survival. But humanity still stood, and in standing, they forced the galaxy to face a truth it had long forgotten. Earth was not a world that broke easily. It was a world forged in fire, shaped by endless struggle. Every empire that tried to crush it had bled for the attempt. As the firestorms faded and smoke curled into the atmosphere, survivors emerged from bunkers, their faces streaked with ash. They looked to the sky, where the alien fleet still hovered, glowing with wrath. None of them bowed. None of them knelt. They only whispered one promise, carried on the wind across a dying planet. "We are not finished." The aliens had expected surrender. Instead, they had forged something far more dangerous: a united Earth. The firestorms left Earth scarred. Skies were choked with ash. Cities smoldered in ruin. Oceans steamed where alien beams had struck. But from the rubble, survivors rose, not only to mourn, but to fight. And for the first time, humanity fought with more than defiance. They fought with stolen fire. In the underground labs beneath London, scientists pried open the fractured core of an alien weapon. The shard pulsed with eerie blue light, humming like a heartbeat. No human machine could even measure the energy. Within, it melted instruments, fried computers, burned holes through reinforced tables. Still, they refused to stop. "Every empire that underestimated us fell," whispered Dr. Alvarez, her eyes locked on the glowing fragment. "They will too." Around her, engineers worked by hand, soldering wires, sketching on paper when digital screens failed. Their tools were crude, but their determination was sharper than steel. One breakthrough came from the unlikeliest source: a young mechanic from Lagos who had never left his city before the bombardment. He noticed the alien circuits pulsed in rhythm, like breath. He connected that rhythm to human tech, syncing it with a car battery. The shard roared to life. A blinding arc of energy tore a crater into the bunker wall. For a moment, silence filled the room. Then the scientists grinned. It wasn't control. It wasn't mastery. But it was a spark. And sparks ignite fire. All across the world, fragments of alien wreckage were pulled into hidden workshops. Weapons stripped from fallen scouts. Armor torn from patrols. Energy cores harvested from downed drones. Humanity dissected its enemy like vultures, feasting on a giant. Hackers joined the war too. From the ruins of São Paulo, that same teenager who cracked the alien network went further. His battered laptop flickered, screen glowing as alien code spilled across it like cascading rivers of light. He tapped furiously, sweat dripping, as alarms blared outside. For a few glorious minutes, he breached the alien communications again. Their resistance is irrational. They should already be broken. Why do they fight? He recorded every word. Humanity's leaders listened, and for the first time, they smiled. The aliens did not understand humanity at all, and misunderstanding was fatal. In Tokyo, resistance fighters field-tested the first hybrid weapon, a railgun fused with alien power. It hummed with a glow not of this world. When they fired, the beam tore through the side of a scout ship, slicing it clean in half. The wreck fell into Tokyo Bay, hissing steam as water swallowed it. The city erupted in cheers. In the sands of the Sahara, guerrilla fighters wielded jury-rigged plasma rifles built from scavenged cores. They lured alien patrols into ambushes, shredding them with their own stolen technology. Everywhere, humans adapted, improvised, survived. The aliens noticed. From orbit, commanders watched with growing unease as their patrols fell not to brute strength, but to cunning. Humans hid in tunnels, struck from shadows, turned scavenged scraps into weapons capable of piercing shields. They evolved too quickly, one alien growled, mandibles clacking. They are vermin, another hissed. They scavenge our tools like rats. Perhaps, the commander muttered, his eyes narrowing. But vermin spread. On Earth, morale shifted. Where once there had been despair, now there was determination. Children painted alien wreckage with human flags. Soldiers carried hybrid rifles forged from scavenged steel. Civilians whispered not of surrender, but of vengeance. And amidst the ruin, a message spread, spray-painted on walls, etched into rubble, whispered through radios. If they bleed, we can kill them. The bombardment slowed. The aliens, once confident of swift victory, began to hesitate. Their attacks grew cautious. Their patrols doubled in number. The predators had realized their prey was armed. But humanity knew hesitation was not mercy. It was fear, and fear meant opportunity. In the bunkers beneath Nevada, generals studied holographic projections of the alien fleet. Their weapons were stronger, their ships vast, but they were not invincible. The cracks were showing. Now, General Volkov growled, his scarred face lit by the glow of alien schematics. We stopped surviving. His eyes hardened. Now we fight to win. Above, the alien flagship pulsed with crimson rage. It had watched one of its destroyers fall. It had seen patrols bleed. It had underestimated humanity once. It would not again, but it was already too late. Humanity had stolen their fire, and fire spreads. The alien fleet loomed above Earth like gods of judgment. Dozens of warships darkened the skies, their hulls bristling with weapons capable of splitting continents. Their flagship, a floating fortress the size of a mountain, hung above the Atlantic, its presence blotting out the sun. For weeks, humanity had survived. For weeks, they had fought from shadows, scavenged weapons, and stolen fire. But now, survival was not enough. The aliens prepared one final strike, an annihilation barrage that would scour Earth clean of life. And so, humanity prepared one last stand. Across the world, resistance cells converged. From the deserts of Africa to the mountains of South America, fighters moved toward hidden bases where hybrid weapons gleamed under dim lights. Scientists and soldiers stood shoulder to shoulder, holding rifles powered by alien cores. Hackers synced battered laptops to alien frequencies. Farmers, miners, and students carried explosives strapped to their chests. Every survivor became a soldier. The plan was simple and impossible. Strike the flagship, kill the command, break the fleet. If they failed, Earth would burn. At dawn, the attack began. From the ruins of Washington, D.C., rockets streaked skyward, smoke trails curling like claws into the ash-gray sky. From Siberia, stolen railguns fired beams of molten light. Submarines surfaced across the oceans, launching nuclear torpedoes fused with alien power cores. The sky ignited. Alien ships swarmed to intercept, shields glowing like suns as they deflected humanity's opening volley. Their retaliation was merciless. Plasma beams swept across the horizon, annihilating launch sites, sinking submarines, burning cities. But this time, humanity didn't scatter. They charged. Fighter jets, patched together from wreckage, screamed. Into the air, their wings bristling with alien cannons bolted to human frames. They tore into alien patrols, diving through plasma fire, firing until their engines melted. Pilots fought not for survival, but for glory. And when they fell in flame, taking alien craft down with them. In orbit, captured drones turned against their masters, their cores overridden by human code. They crashed into alien warships, like kamikaze missiles detonating in blossoms of fire. Everywhere, Earth burned, but humanity pushed forward, and then the flagship revealed its wrath. Its central cannon roared, unleashing a beam that split the clouds, vaporizing the Atlantic. In a boiling wall of steam, whole fleets of ships, both human and alien, vanished in its fury. Cities along the coast crumbled beneath the tidal waves it birthed. The world shuddered, but the resistance was already in motion. In Nevada, General Volkov barked into a radio, his voice calm despite the chaos. Team Alpha, clear the path. Beta, get them inside. Above, a small strike force ascended through the storm. Old shuttles, their hulls scarred, their engines screaming, carried humanity's last hope. Commandos armed with hybrid weapons and a device built from the alien shard. A weapon not to destroy the flagship, but to tear its shields apart. The shuttles darted through fire, their wings ablaze. One by one, they fell, ripped apart by alien guns. Yet enough survived, ramming straight into the flagship's hull. The commandos poured out into the belly of the beast. Gunfire echoed through. Alien corridors as humans fought hand-to-hand with towering invaders. Plasma and bullets clashed in the smoke. Grenades shook the walls. Blood, red and alien blue, splattered across steel. Every inch of the ship was bought with sacrifice. Finally, deep within the core, the device was planted. The shard pulsed, glowing brighter, brighter, until the very air trembled. Alarms blared in alien tongues. General Volkov's voice crackled over comms. Detonate. A flash of white light ripped through the flagship's veins. Its shield collapsed, flickering out like shattered glass. For the first time, the Leviathan was vulnerable. Earth unleashed hell, railguns fired, jets dove, nukes streaked. Upward. Every weapon left on Earth targeted the wounded beast. Explosions tore across its hull. Fires consumed its engines. With a thunderous groan, the flagship began to fall, its colossal frame dragging half the fleet into chaos with it. The skies lit with fire as the gods of war were dragged down. From the ground, survivors stared upward, ash falling like snow. They did not cheer, not yet. The battle was not finished. The aliens still lived. Their fleet still burned overhead. Humanity had cracked their armor, but the war would demand more blood. Still, hope sparked in every eye. For the first time, the impossible had been done. The mighty had fallen. The flagship was falling. Its titanic bulk split the clouds, flames trailing from its shattered engines, fragments of alien steel raining into the Atlantic. The crash thundered across the world like Judgment Day, but the war was not over. Above Earth, the alien fleet still loomed, dozens of warships circling, weapons primed, their rage burning hotter than ever. Their commander's voice echoed through the network, a guttural snarl that bled into human frequencies. They dare wound us? Then let them see extinction. The sky ignited once more. Columns of plasma streaked downward, tearing craters into cities already in ruin, forests burned, mountains split, oceans boiled. Humanity's victory over the flagship seemed a spark swallowed by a storm. But sparks spread. In bunkers, tunnels, and ruined cities, survivors rose. Soldiers with scavenged rifles, hackers with glowing screens, children with Molotovs in trembling hands. The world was aflame, but the fire was no longer despair. It was fury, and fury unites. From the wreckage of the flagship's fall, fragments of its technology burned brighter than any weapon humanity had held before. Engineers swarmed over the debris, hauling glowing cores, scavenging alien cannons, and wiring them into human launchers. Within hours, Earth's skies were filled with weapons born of both blood and genius. The counterstrike began. In Paris, railguns roared, punching holes into enemy frigates. In Cairo, hybrid plasma cannons tore through alien cruisers. In New York, skyscraper ruins became fortresses, launching beams that ripped through the night. Every city became a battlefield. Every street, a war front. And then came the final gambit. The shard weapon that had crippled the flagship had not been destroyed. In a hidden base beneath the Himalayas, scientists prepared its twin, a device designed not just to collapse shields, but to rip through the alien fleet's very command link. It was dangerous, unstable, likely suicidal, but there was no other choice. A final strike team, scarred veterans, young recruits, and civilians who refused to bow, volunteered. They launched in scavenged shuttles, engines coughing smoke, patched hulls glowing with alien power cores. Their target, the alien command vessel at the heart of the fleet. The battle above Earth was chaos incarnate. Human jets dove between plasma storms. Alien destroyers fired in every direction, desperate to stop the swarming gnats that refused to die. Nukes detonated in orbits, blossoms of fire painting the void. The strike team punched through. They breached the command ship's hull, in a blaze of fire storming its corridors with hybrid rifles. The air stank of ozone and blood as humans fought hand-to-hand with the towering aliens. Blades clashed, plasma hissed, and then they reached the core. A cathedral of light stretched before them, massive conduits pulsing with alien energy, a heartbeat that tied the fleet together. The shard device hummed in the hands of its carrier, a young woman with soot on her face and fire in her eyes. She looked to her comrades, then planted the weapon on the core. The aliens roared, rushing forward. The humans held the line, bullets, plasma, knives, every second bought with blood. The shard screamed, its glow rising to blinding white. And then, silence. Wave of light exploded outward, invisible yet unstoppable. The alien network shuddered, splintered, then shattered. Above Earth, the fleet convulsed. Command collapsed. Ships lost formation, colliding, crashing, burning. Some exploded in silent fireballs. Others plummeted into the atmosphere, streaking. Across the sky like falling stars, the warships that survived turned, engines flaring, not to fight, to flee. For the first time in their empire's history, they retreated. On the ground, Survivors lifted their eyes to the heavens, watching as the invincible armada scattered into the void, their power broken, their pride in ashes. Humanity had done the impossible. Earth had stood alone, and Earth had won. The cost was staggering, cities reduced to rubble, oceans scarred, millions dead. Survivors huddled in ruins, holding the faces of those they lost. But they were alive, and more than alive, victorious. In the ruins of the United Nations building, a message was broadcast into the stars, carried on every hacked frequency, every stolen signal. Every shard of alien tech now bent to human will. The message was simple. We are humanity. We stand alone. And if you come for us, you will fall. The galaxy listened and trembled.